It's Pastor Colin with your daily word. As we start this new series called Still Here, we're reflecting on Christ's presence in the present. We're reflecting on the ways through the book of Hebrews that Christ is present with each one of us, and also present with others all over the world, and present to us in our community, and present to us personally and intimately. And this week, following this Sunday sermon, we're reflecting on what it means for Christ to be present cosmically. That's a kind of an overwhelming thought, that Christ, who's embodied in the person Jesus of Nazareth, is present cosmically. And that's what the New Testament tells us, actually. If you read John 1 or Colossians or Hebrews, as we're going through a sermon series right now, we find the authors of the New Testament saw Christ as present everywhere, cosmically. Not only present, but the very agent as part of the Godhead, the very agent of creation. That because there is anything, that there is anything is due wholly to God, of which Christ is the second person of what we call the Trinity in the Christian tradition. I think the most helpful way of thinking about Christ's presence with us cosmically is to think about his name. We know that Jesus Christ is not Jesus' first and last name. That convention is not really part of this first century culture that Jesus was a part of, but that Christ is a title. Christ is who Jesus is as his role is in the world. It might be helpful sometimes, as we do sometimes in worship, to separate the two words, Jesus and Christ, with the word the. Jesus, the Christ. It tells us who Jesus is. And when we say that Jesus is the Christ, we're saying that it's God's representative in the world, wholly, completely, we would say even divine in and of himself, to carry out the work of reconciliation that God has desired from the beginning, desired by God's people in the Old Testament, prophesied and foreseen by the prophets in the Old Testament, sung and praised about in the Psalms, and then fulfilled in the person of Jesus. There's a joke that people make about Karl Barth, 20th century Swiss theologian. They say, the answer is Jesus, but what was the question? And I think that also tells us a little bit about Christ's presence cosmically, that in Jesus we find the unlocking of every longing question we have as human beings. Because as some people remark, Jesus doesn't show us how to be God. Jesus shows us how to be truly human. And that's the role of Christ for us personally, but it's also the role of Christ cosmically, to reconcile all things, to seek peace and mercy and justice in every corner of the cosmos. The beautiful, overwhelming thing about that is we don't really even know what that might mean outside of our own circle, outside of our own galaxy, outside of our own universe. But we hold on to that promise that Jesus embodies for us who God is. That when we look at Jesus, when we draw near to Jesus, when we experience Jesus, when we come to the table, we are experiencing the living God, who is in every corner of the cosmos, holds it all together, sustains it, and does so through Jesus Christ. Hope you guys have a great week.